Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to make crochet baby hat. I'm going to use two colors, these two colors, and I have taken a measurement of this doll, and I'm going to make a baby hat according to this head. So let me start. I'm starting with 6 chain. I'm going to join the chain now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll join the chain now. After joining the chain, I'll make 2 chains. 1, 2. This counts as 1 DC, and I'm going to make 11 DC inside the circle. So I'm making 11 more DC inside the circle. So now I have completed 12 DC inside the circle. Now I'm going to join it with the first 3 chain, the third one, with a slip stitch. Now again I'll make 2 chain, and this time I'm going to make 2 DC in each stitch. So I'm going to continue the same. I'll see you at the end of the stitch here. So I'm at the end of this row. In this row, I made 2 DC in each stitch. So this is the last stitch. I'm going to make 2 DC inside this stitch. Now we have 24 DC. So there's an increase. Here we had 12 and now it is 24. And this way I'm going to increase for 3 more rows. I'm going to join it with a slip stitch. Slip stitch. 2 chain, and this time I'm going to make 2 DC, 2 DC, 1 DC in the next stitch. I'll repeat this till the end of this row. 2 DC in one stitch, 1 DC in the next. Next stitch. So I'll see you at the end of this row. The end of the row. In this row I made 1 DC in one chain and 2 DC in the next chain. I repeated this. I started with 1 DC and 2 chain in the same stitch, and then next I made 1 DC and 2 DC in the next. So I completed this. Now it's going to be 36 altogether. When I finish this 2 DC here, it will be 36 DC. So again increase in this row. I'm going to increase 2 more rows. I'll join this, the first 3 chain you can see here. I'm going to join this with the top chain with a slip stitch. Now again I'm going to make 2 chain, and this time instead of 1 DC I'll make 2 DC in 2 chain and 2 DC in the next chain. So let me do it. 2 DC, this is 2 DC and 2 DC in the same stitch. 2 DC, 1, 2, 2 DC in the next. One DC, 2 DC in the next chain, and now 2 DC in the same stitch. I'll repeat this. I'll come at the end of this row and see you. I'm at the end of this row. I'm making 2 DC in the same stitch. So I started with 2 DC and 2 DC in the same stitch row. Now I'm going to join this row with the topmost chain which I made in the beginning of this row. Again I'm going to make 2 chain. This time again there will be an increase. There will be 3 DC in the next 3 chain and 2 DC in the next chain. I'll show you that. 1, 2, 3, and 2 DC in the next chain. One, 2, 3 DC in the 3 stitches and 2 DC in the next stitch. This is the second DC. 1, 2, 3, the 3 chain and 2 DC in the next chain. 1, 2, 3, 2 DC. I'll repeat this. I'll see you at the end of this row. I'm at the end of this row. 2 DC. So I'll join this, but before joining it, I'll let you know what I did. I did 3 DC in the next 3 stitch or chain and 2 DC in the next stitch. Here 1, 2, 3, 2 DC in the next, 3 DC in the 3 stitch. This is what I did. You can follow this. And I'm going to do the next row. Next row is, I'll show you what I'm going to do in the next row. I'm joining it with the slip stitch, 2 chain, and now I'm going to do only DC in all the stitches all round, and I'll complete 4 rows of the same stitch. 4 rows. Next 4 rows will be only double crochet in each stitch. This has to be repeated for 4 rows. Now this row is over. 3 DC in the next 3 stitches or chain and 2 DC in the next stitch. 3 DC in the 3 stitches and 2 DC in the next stitch. So I'm joining here. And now the increase is we don't have to increase anymore. That's it. Let me measure it. 4.5. And now 2 chain, and there's no increase. I'm going to make 4 rows with no increase, just DC in each of the stitch. I just completed 4 rows of DC in each chain, double crochet in each chain. This is the 4th row, and I'll join it. And now I'm going to use another color. This color I'm going to use for the pattern. One, two, 1 DC, another DC now. I'm making another DC, 2 chain, and 2 DC in the same stitch. Skip 2 chain, on the 3rd chain I'll make 2 DC, 2 chain and 2 DC. 2 DC, 2 chain, one, 2 chain, two DC, 2 chain, 2 DC. I'll repeat this. I'll see you at the end of this row. I have completed this row. I'm going to join this row. And now I'm going to make a 2 chain, which counts as 1 DC, 2 chain again, and 1 DC in the same, in between the previous 2 DC, 2 chain, 2 DC. In between this pattern we have to make 1 DC, 2 chain and 1 DC. 1 DC, 2 chain, 1 DC. Because we are joining here, so we are taking 5 chain as 3 chain as 1 DC and 2 chain and 1 DC in between this pattern. So now I'm going to repeat the same, like 1 DC, 2 chain and 1 DC. In the same space. One DC, 2 chain, 1 DC in the space. I'll repeat this inside each of this space. 1 DC, 2 chain, 1 DC, 1 DC, 2 chain, 1 DC. I'll see you at the end of this row. So I finished 2 rows, 1, 2. I'm going to attach this again, light pink. This is 1 DC, 2 DC, 2 chain, 2 DC, 2 chain, 2 DC. I'm going to make the same 2 DC, 2 chain and 2 DC. In this gap, in this space. Two DC, 2 chain, 2 DC, 2 DC, 2 chain, 2 DC. I'm going to continue with it. I'll see you at the end of this row. I completed the 2 rows just now, and I'm going to change the color, and this is the final round I'm going to make now. I'll show you how to do it. Now we are in the final row, finishing row. So I'm attaching this color. Two chain. So I'm going to make 4 DC in this space, 4 DC, 2, 3, 4. And in this space, I'll make one slip stitch. So 4 DC in this space, 4 DC. And 1 slip stitch here. No, sorry, here. Slip stitch. Four DC, 1 slip stitch, 4 DC, 1 slip stitch, 4 DC. So I'll continue with that. 4 DC, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Four DC, 1, 2, 3, 4. One slip stitch. So I'll see you after completing this row. So it's done. I finished this. I completed the final row. I will cut out the extra yarn. This is the hat which I just made, and this fits the doll very well. So I hope you like my video. Please subscribe my channel so that I can come with more projects, more patterns next time. Thank you very much.